Welcome to another drawing from Let's Have Fun Drawing Together. Let's dive right into today's story.
Bob, the small and round minion, was absolutely thrilled. He had just learned that today would be full of adventure and that he would play a key role. Bob looked at himself in the mirror, adjusting his denim overalls and placing his enormous round goggles firmly on his face. The 3 little hairs sticking out from the top of his head seemed as excited as he was. "Today, I'm going to be a hero," he exclaimed, jumping up and down with joy. In the grand laboratory, the minions were bustling about. Gru, their boss, was explaining the plan. They needed to build a gigantic machine capable of turning ice into instant ice cream. His 3 daughters, Margot, Edith, and Agnes, had requested an enormous ice cream sundae for their party, and Gru was determined to make it happen. But to complete the machine, Gru said in his deep voice, "We need the legendary frozen crystal, which can only be found on Frosty Peak. Bob and Kevin, you will be responsible for retrieving it." Bob's heart leapt with excitement. He was thrilled but also a little nervous. Kevin, taller and more responsible, gave him a reassuring pat on the shoulder. "Don't worry, Bob. We've got this." And so, their adventure began. Gru had prepared a small rocket for Bob and Kevin. The rocket was painted yellow and blue, just like the minions, and had a big red button in the center. Bob could hardly wait to board. "Lift off in 3, 2, 1. Gru counted down, pressing the button. With a loud roar, the rocket shot into the sky, leaving a trail of colorful smoke. Bob peered out the window, amazed. Below, forests, cities, and rivers looked like tiny drawings on a map. Kevin focused intently on piloting, but Bob couldn't contain his excitement. "Look, Kevin, clouds," he shouted, pointing outside. Kevin sighed, trying to stay serious. "Bob, we need to focus. Frosty Peak is full of dangers." After a few hours of flight, they finally arrived. Frosty Peak stood majestically before them, covered in glittering snow that sparkled under the sun. After landing at the mountain's base, Bob and Kevin began their ascent. The snow was soft beneath their feet, and the chilly wind made Bob's 3 hairs sway. During their climb, they encountered a group of curious penguins. The penguins tilted their heads, observing the minions with interest. "Hi, penguins," Bob greeted them enthusiastically. To win their trust, Bob began imitating their waddling walk, swaying side to side. The penguins laughed and soon joined him in a playful dance. Kevin, however, tried to stay focused. "Bob, we don't have time to dance. We need to find the frozen crystal." A penguin wearing a red hat approached and pointed a flipper toward the mountain's peak. Kevin nodded in gratitude and tugged on Bob's arm. "Let's go, Bob." Before leaving, Bob offered a piece of his banana to the penguins, who waved happily as they said goodbye. After hours of climbing, Bob and Kevin reached a cave hidden behind a frozen waterfall. Inside, everything sparkled. The frozen crystal stood in the center of the cave, large and glowing like a star. "Woo!" Bob whispered in awe. But as they approached, the ground began to shake. From the cave's depths emerged a massive ice dragon, its blue eyes glowing like the crystal itself. Bob hid behind Kevin, trembling. "Stay calm, Bob. I have a plan," Kevin said. He pulled a banana from his pocket and held it up to the dragon. The dragon paused, curious. It sniffed the banana and, gently, took it in its enormous claws and ate it. After a tense moment, the dragon smiled and lay down, allowing Bob and Kevin to take the frozen crystal. "Banana!" Bob cheered, lifting the crystal triumphantly above his head. With the frozen crystal in hand, Bob and Kevin returned to the rocket. During the flight back, Bob couldn't stop recounting everything that had happened. "And then, the dragon was this big," he said, spreading his arms wide. Kevin sighed but couldn't help smiling. When they arrived at the lab, Gru and his daughters were waiting for them. Agnes, the youngest, ran straight to Bob. "Bob, you found the crystal." Bob nodded and handed over the frozen crystal. Gru inserted it into the machine, which began to hum and light up. Within seconds, an enormous mountain of ice cream emerged, towering as high as Gru himself. The girls cheered and began decorating the ice cream with syrup and sprinkles. Bob, of course, was the first to grab a giant spoonful. Banana," he exclaimed with a big smile. That night, Gru hosted a party to celebrate Bob, Kevin, and all the minions for their hard work. There were colorful lights, music, and plenty of ice cream for everyone. Bob danced to the music, making everyone laugh with his goofy moves. At the end of the night, he looked around, feeling happy and proud. It had been a special day, full of adventure and laughter. As he lay down to sleep, Bob thought, "I wonder what the next mission will be." But that night was anything but ordinary. Bob dreamed he was back on Frosty Peak. The dragon appeared in his dream, speaking a strange language that Bob somehow understood. It said, "Not all ice is just ice. Hidden secrets await those with a pure heart like yours." The next morning, Bob woke up confused but excited. He ran to tell Kevin about his dream, who looked at him skeptically. "Bob, maybe you ate too much ice cream last night." But just then, a strange sound filled the lab. It was the noise of ice cracking. Gru rushed to the main room, followed by the minions. On the floor, a mysterious portal had opened, leading down into the earth. Gru looked at Bob and Kevin. "It seems your adventure isn't over yet. This portal might be connected to the frozen crystal. We need to find out what's down there." With a mix of fear and excitement, Bob and Kevin began descending into the portal, accompanied by a few curious minions. The tunnel was dark and cold, illuminated only by strange blue lights emanating from the walls. At the end of the tunnel, the group emerged into a massive cavern. It looked like a city made of ice, with gleaming towers and transparent bridges. Bob's jaw dropped in amazement. In the center of the city stood a giant ice throne, and sitting on it was a mysterious figure. It was an elder with a long beard made of ice. He spoke in a strange language, but the minions seemed to understand. He explained that the frozen crystal wasn't just a power source but also a key to maintaining balance between the world above and below. Bob, with his usual innocent courage, stepped forward and asked, "Can we help?" The elder smiled. "Of course. But first, you must pass some trials." Bob and Kevin faced trials of logic, strength, and teamwork. In one trial, Bob had to confront his greatest fear, darkness. In another, Kevin had to trust Bob completely to cross a shaky bridge. In the end, they managed to overcome every challenge, proving that friendship and teamwork could conquer anything. When they completed the trials, the elder gave them a small fragment of the frozen crystal, which would protect the lab from any future danger. With the fragment of the frozen crystal carefully stored, Bob and Kevin began their journey back to the lab. The path seemed peaceful, but a surprise awaited them. As they walked through a narrow canyon, a shadow swiftly passed overhead. Before they could react, a group of mysterious creatures surrounded them. They were the Gelenids, inhabitants of the Ice Kingdom who didn't approve of outsiders taking pieces of their crystal. "Who are you? Why have you taken what doesn't belong to you?" growled the leader of the Gelenids, a tall, slender creature with eyes that sparkled like diamonds. Bob, trembling, tried to explain, We just want to help. The crystal helps keep balance in our world." The Gelenid leader didn't look convinced. Kevin, growing more worried, searched for a way to escape. Suddenly, one of the Gelenids stepped closer, and Bob had a brilliant idea. He pulled out a banana from his pocket and offered it. The creatures paused, puzzled. One of them sniffed the banana and, unexpectedly, began to laugh. Soon, the other Gelenids joined in, and the tension eased. But the leader wasn't ready to let them go so easily. "If you wish to take the crystal, you must prove your worth," he said, pointing to a steep, icy cliff. "Climb to the top and retrieve our symbol of peace, a crystalline snowflake." Bob and Kevin exchanged glances. It was a dangerous challenge, but they had no choice. With determination, they began their climb.
Thank you for watching. Watch another video on our channel. Let's have fun drawing together, where another unique character embarks on a new adventure.